I got to be 88 years old. But really, it was a very different completely attitude and everything that the pilots had and the flight crews had, and that we as a ground crew had. Ours was strictly, totally, and unquestionably, we'll get it done no matter what happens. That's the way we operated. So that's what basic Air Force or Air Corps. That's what Army Air Corps theory. So we enjoyed it.
How did you know when you could come home?
When the war was over, they said, "See you later."
So you stayed.
That was it.
The flyers, when they got so many missions in, they could,
yeah,
but you didn't.
Well, I was only overseas for 2 years, so a lot of those guys came up from Africa and everything. And some of those guys had been overseas for almost 4 years. It's pretty hard to take. It really is. You can only stay in a job like that for so long, then pretty soon you get a little bit flaky. But they sent us to camps every once in a while to get us relaxed. We went down to Bari, had beautiful beaches down there, and we went over to Capri. Spent 3 days in Capri with white sheets and all of we ate off of silverware and dishes and everything. It was really nice. And we went back to our squadrons with our mess kits. But it was all right. It was good. I never lost any weight. So I think the attitude was what I was so proud of. There was not a guy in the whole bunch. Even we had a couple of guys that were alcoholics, more or less, and one of them did get sent home because he just couldn't hold it anymore. But I don't blame him. I mean, they did what they could do, and they couldn't do no more, so they started hitting the bottle.
How did a guy get access to alcohol like that?
Yeah.
How did you get access to it?
I figured.
How did you get access to alcohol? While
in Italy. Did you ever see a 50-gallon jug that we carried? It came with sulfuric acid in for our batteries. We took those jugs, steamed them out, took them up to the local center, and for $2 you'd get that 50-gallon jug of wine. Well, you couldn't drink that much wine, so we had a guy in our outfit by the name of Homer P. Judd. I'll never forget Homer. Homer was a licensed bootlegger. He made a still. We took that wine and we were running through there, made white lightning with it. About that much at the bottom of the glass, it would put you on your ear, believe me. But then we had made a lot of things like that. We all like cold beer. There's no question about it. Well, how do you cool beer in the middle of the winter, summertime in a place like Italy, where it gets up to 100 degrees and dry as a bone? We made a long trough, about this deep. And in that trough, we took copper tubing and run it up and down and punched a bunch of holes in it. Then we got one of those 50-pound, great big fire extinguishers, CO2, hooked it onto that line, filled it full of water, and then put the beer in there and turned that baby on. Froze the water, and it made ice, cold as the wicked. That's how we had our beer. Loved ice cream. You'd never see a GI that didn't like ice cream. What do you do? Where do you find a refrigerator to do it? We didn't. So we made one. We inside the bomb bay of an airplane, we made a rack that you could rotate, put a 55-gallon garbage can on it and seal the lid. When we went, filled it full of ice cream mix and a big old rock. Then one guy was assigned to be the rocker, and he'd sit in the bay along with the side of the band and keep that thing turning until the rock doesn't make any noise anymore. Then we'd land and everybody had ice cream. But you believe me, I think we used 5,780 gallons of gasoline in one of those things. And so that was basically that. Oh, we had a lot of fun. Don't get us wrong. We had a lot of fun. But we were all kids. We all enjoyed ourselves, and we knew that there was going to be a lot of days that was going to be a lot of work, but we did it, enjoyed it. So that's the difference between combat duty and self duty. I think I had the better of the two evils. I really do. Yeah, I'd like to be a pilot and all of the glory that goes with it, but I had more fun with those kids than I did with any of them. Then because of that, I ended up being a school teacher. I got my degree in mathematics from GI Bill and got my master's the same way and taught school for 30 years. So that basically was one of the reasons I think I did is because I was trained to do a job and do it well and do it as long as it had to be done. And I think that rub off, it really lasted a long time. It really did. Didn't hurt me at all in my profession. I was considered the oldest living teenager in that high school. So that's basically what I had and did for a living.
Well, you guys did a remarkable job.
Well, I'll tell you, we were proud of it. We really were. I still have people come up to me and say, boy, thank God for you guys. And I says, well, thank God you guys made it back. That's all we're after. So that's about the story. It gives you any information.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, that was wonderful. And I want to thank you for taking the time to do this.
Pleasure's mine, really.
Like I said, yours is a very unique perspective. To be honest with you, I've never heard anybody talk about the experience like you have related here.
You know, it's amazing when you think about it now. When you get to be 88, you look back at it and you say, how in the heck did I do that? You wonder, you actually wonder, now wait a minute, I have worked hard in my job that I did, but I never had to put in those kind of hours, but it didn't bother me. The job was there and was done, that's all. So.
Did any of the men that came back on the planes, did they know that you were the go-to people for things like beer?
Yeah.
Yeah, did they count on you to...
Hey, the old man, we had a colonel, a major, what was his name? Well, anyway, squadron commander, he had a law. He says, nobody goes down on the line and talk to those guys unless I give them permission to do so. So, I mean, I was working on a plane one day. I don't know if you know of an oil on an aircraft is about a 70 weight and it's dirty as all get out. We had one of those coolers hit and it had to be changed. So we took the basket off and pulled this thing out. I had oil all over me. Here, but down the runway comes the second lieutenant with pinks and a nice gray suit and, you know, real sharp. He looked up and he said, Sergeant, I want to talk to you. And I said, well, just a minute, I'm busy. Don't give me a minute. Come down here. I want to talk to you immediately. Well, you'll have to wait till I get this thing done. He said, you'll be court-martialed. I said, I don't care. I've been threatened before. So I went down and got down there, and he started chewing me out because I wasn't in uniform. And about that time, Major, I can't think of his name. I'm getting too old for that. Anyway, he came down there. He, in front of us, chewed that second lieutenant out, up one side, down the other, and he says, if you come down here again, you're going to come down in work clothes, and I'm going to make you do the job. Never saw another second lieutenant ever. But he really took care of us. I mean, nobody paid much attention to the guys down there working, but he knew what it was all about, and he really did a wonderful job. Always respect him. He came from Hiawatha, Kansas, of all places. So. And I went to school in a little town just below that in Atchison, Kansas, where I got my degree. So we had kind of a close feeling about each other. So.
Well, thank you very much,
yeah,
sir.
sure.
I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank
to
you.
relate your...
Appreciate letting other people know what we did do for
Well,
us.
this is what it's all about. It really is.
They couldn't do what they did unless you did what you could do.
Yeah, they depended on you.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll find too many likewise situations because every job we did had their own things to express themselves and everything else. Had kids from Louisiana. One was named DiMaggio, great big Italian American from Louisiana. We had Homer P. Judd was from Kentucky. He was a bootlegger. We had just the whole art wash of the young people at the time. I think that when I got out, I was 23 when I got out of the Army. Well, in those 4 years that I spent in the Army, I don't think I could have spent any more valuable time when you come right down to it. And then when I went to school, I knew one thing for either you put yourself in gear and get your butt moving, or you're not going to make it. You know?
Right,
So
especially.
that was the way it was. So.
Well, thank you.
You didn't have any. Once you left the Army, you didn't want to be mechanic.
Well, yes, I was. My dad had a surfer station garage, and I was born with a wrench in my mouth, and really, so I had a lot of basic taking stuff apart and putting it back together. Not the complexity of an aircraft, but just you can feel it. You can put a screw on, or a nut on a screw, and if it wasn't right, you could feel it wasn't right. And it's not a case, well, we're going to put it on to come hell or high water. You just had a feel for that kind of stuff, and that came from ingrown.
I believe that's called mechanical aptitude.
Is that what it is? Yeah. It got me into a lot of trouble.
Well, we're going to get on to this next gentleman here. I want to thank
Thank
you
you
once
so
again
much.
for
That was excellent.
spending time with us, and I look forward to spending some more time with you in the future.
Right now, if I could just figure out some way how to walk again, I got Parkinson's disease now, so it don't hurt anything.
Yeah, very good.
This is my #1 daughter.
Yeah. Oh, we've met.
You don't need